welcome to The Point. It is Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. Thank you to those of you joining us on the GBN Grenada Broadcasting Network's Facebook page, the Grenada Broadcasting Network's YouTube channel, the website www.gbn.gd, GBN TV channel 7, 11, and 20. Good morning to the listeners of Classic 105.5, 105.9, and all the folks joining us on Party Grenada and Go to FET Facebook pages. It is a pleasure to have you joining us this morning. I have an in-studio guest with me this morning. I have a prospective caretaker for the rural part of Grenada for the Grenada United Labour Party, GULP, Mr. Denis Charles. Good morning, Mr. Charles, and thank you so much, sir, for joining us for To The Point this morning.
Good morning, Blossoms, and it's a pleasure being here with you today.
Thank you for joining us. So you are a prospective caretaker for the GULP. Let's first discuss how that link up, if you will, happened, and the discussions you had with the members of the party that, sought your expertise in the rural part of the island. Let me just bend that mic just a little bit. Right.
Yeah, thank you again for such a warm introduction. I want to say thank you to all the listeners of this great radio station here in Grenada and also in the diaspora. I myself listen to it. I have a family member who works here, Mr. Augustine Godfrey, so I'm quite familiar with you and your reach. Yes, my name is Denis Charles, and I have been sought out by the GULP, among others. 3 months ago, I was in Grenada here, and I met with members of the TPP. Again, I also have been called by the NDC. So just about everybody. But I pretty much spend a lot of time in the financial arena. I am a frequent guest on Ride Along with Junior George. I spent some time with George Grant. He passed away, I think, about a year ago.
Yes.
Right. So I'm pretty much well known, well followed, over 4,000 fans on Facebook, in politics, economics, whatever, investment, financial stuff. So I'm very well known. So I think that's the reason that I'm pretty much sought out, by the different parties.
So being pursued, questioned, asked, requested by the different parties, what made you decide that the GULP was the party that you want to hook your ticket on? Yes,
and Blossoms, that's a good question. I would confide in you that secretly I followed the NDC. Okay? I followed the NDC. I was a supporter, covertly, of the NDC. During the time of Francis Alexis, my house, I had a building in Brooklyn. My basement is where we used to hold meetings for the NDC, raise funds, cook oil down, barbecue, all of that stuff, CMOS, all night. I had a DJ that comes in and play until next morning. Thousands of dollars we raised at my place. Even if I was not a known member behind the scenes, I like to keep it private. So I never had myself in the public, space. But secretly behind the scenes, I was an NDC supporter.
So what made you switch?
I want to say that I have something in common with Mr. Jeffrey Prudhomme. Mm-hmm. And we had many conversations together. Many conversations. 2 days ago, I spoke with him again, and we have a history together. Both of us graduated from Richmond Hill University. Don't go further. I rest my case.
I like that. I like that one. Okay. Yeah, and in our conversation before the program started, you told me rural part of the island, St. Andrew, St. Patrick. Why isn't it, or why haven't you settled on a constituency yet? Why is the perspective different constituencies in the rural part of the island?
Yes, that is the case. My dad grew up in Sotez, St. Patrick. I went to school at MacDonald College, right in Mali. Most of my extended family live in Sotez right now. I am related to the Alexis, as in Franca Bernardine Alexis, right? The Holas, the Belfonds, a lot of the families out there, on my father's side. My mom is from St. Andrews, so I have roots there too. So I could definitely canvass both areas. I'm pretty much well known. So I haven't made a determination as to which one I would go for. But I'm well known and I am well respected too.
Is there one that you're leaning toward? Or it's still 50-50? It's not 60-40?
I would say 50-50. 50-50.
Okay. All right. So let's get into the issues of national importance specifically. We have had a lot of issues recently in Grenada, and you told me your interest really is in tourism and agriculture. So let's first start with tourism. Just recently, it was announced that as Grenada starts to revitalize and boost its tourism sector, the tourism industry, one of the measures put in place is that we would only be welcoming fully vaccinated visitors into the island effective the 30th of this month. With your interest in tourism, what's your thoughts on that?
Yes, with respect to the spread of the Delta variant, we have seen a rise across the United States of COVID infection in the younger generation. That is the working generation, right? And this is terrible because the elderly don't work. Most of them retire and all of that. They might be in a home or whatever it is, or at home. But when you remove so many persons from contributing, going to work from the workforce, that's terrible. We saw a decline in the stock exchange. I think Wall Street went down about 33 points. As you know, I'm a financial guy, right? This is terrible. That sends a signal that the economy is going to stagnate or decline. We might have a market correction, right? So it is not good. We look at Europe. Germany is under flood. England is way up there in corona. Look at what is happening to China and India in Asia. It is not good. So we are living in critical times. That is why it is so important here in Grenada to make sure we don't open the floodgates and have persons coming in here who would spread that variant. I have no idea if it is already here. I cannot tell you. But I know when I came in on the flight Delta from New York, the plane was filled. Just about every person who was white, when they got to immigration, they disappeared. A bus came, picked them up, they went to Sandals. I spent over an hour and a half, right, going through all that, protocols or red tape, whatever it is. I mean, it was frustrating. But those who were not Grenadian nationals and they had the right connection with Sandals or whichever hotel, they were whisked away. And they didn't have to do the testing, this thing shoved up your nose and all of that. While we, with melanin, had to sit there. And it hurt me. Also, I must make mention...
Sorry, before you move on, just to let you know, Sandals has their own testing facility. So even if they're not tested at the hotel, at the airport, I know they will be tested and quarantined at the resort.
I am not doubting. But if you level the playing field, it makes people feel a little bit more comfortable, right? It seems as though some have preferential treatment if you have the right connection, whereas somebody like me, a little person without any big affiliation, I have to wait at the back of the line. I'm a born Grenadian. It didn't sit well with me. And not only that, that gave me the opportunity to look around. And what did I see? CBI, Citizens by Investment, $220,000 for some condo or co-op on Grand Anse, right? There was nothing saying returning nationals, right? Welcome home. We have money to invest too. We have pension. We have worth overseas. We have 401k. But there is nothing that caters to us as fellow Grenadians living in the diaspora to return home and bring our expertise back home and mentor or contribute to the Grenadian economy. It is all about foreign nationals, and that hurt my feelings. In addition to the long wait, I had to stay at the airport to get all of that stuff, and then I had to go through immigration and all of that long. I was mad by the time I get to the hotel. I am born, I'm a born Grenadian, and that is not the way you treat your nationals, where foreigners have preference over you. That got to change.
So, let's say you take up the capacity as Minister of Tourism, Director of Tourism. How would you change that, or as you say, level the playing field in relation of the COVID-19 pandemic coming into the island, whether you're a national or a foreigner?
Yes, what I say, to speed up the process at the airport, you shouldn't have a log jam. Not enough or sufficient folks at the desk moving fast enough with a big plane load, hundreds of us coming down. So the line is long and it is slow. People get frustrated. There was an old lady, she started using some foul languages and all of that. She was pissed. Excuse my French. You understand? So they could whisk us away to a general facility maybe nearby, so you ease up some space from this crowd. And the seating arrangements, not too many chairs in there. So some people had to stand in line for that long, after a long flight from New York. We could do that. Let everybody go to that facility and get tested, wait in line and all of that, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if you would leave some to wait and suffer in the heat on the airport, whereas some hotel with connection to you, all the guests get carried away immediately, right, on a bus and whisk away to wherever it is. Let everybody enjoy some of that too.
All right. Now let's move on to healthcare.
Yes.
I know this is a concern of the GULP.
Yes.
Share with us the party's thoughts, your thoughts on Grenada's healthcare system, what we offer here in Grenada as healthcare.
Yes, I am very pleased that you asked that question, because key on our platform is the revitalization of the healthcare industry. We want to bring in not foreigners, but Grenadians abroad who travel to Canada, who travel to the United States, became nurses, RNs, LPNs, whatever it is in the field of health. If we could incentivize them to return and make a contribution. We also want to use the facilities of the St. George School of Medicine. If we could partner with them to help deliver healthcare services in the rural areas, we could do that. That's not hard to do. They're just a stone's throw away, right? But what I'm saying is Grenada has one of the worst healthcare system in the Caribbean, and we have one of the best medical schools. So there is a disconnect, right? There is a disconnect. We have our nurses leaving Grenada for greener pastures in England. They become landed, or they get papers or citizenship or whatever it is, immigration status, to work in England. They are looking after our nurses, or getting them to leave our country and go abroad and perform services for their people. Why not try to retain them here? Why not try to increase their pay and keep them here? All right? They could go out to the rural parishes. We can have, for instance, mobile medics, right? Let's see, on Tuesday, you have a busload of maybe nurses and some doctors visit Birch Grove. Maybe on Wednesday they go to Mount Rich, different parts of the island, mobile medic, and you're bringing healthcare to different communities, different days of the week, because it's not everybody that have the money to jump on a bus and head to St. George, to the hospital, right? Most of the clinics in the rural areas are not functional. Maybe they have a nurse or two, maybe they have bandages or two. Most of them are shut down. That is not delivering healthcare to the poor. Okay, so there is a big disconnect here. If we get our nationals abroad, if we could incentivize them to return to the homeland and make a contribution, that would bring in a floodgate of those who retire with a whole ton of money, own a whole lot of property, real estate. I invested up there too. You know, I own real estate currently in the United States and so forth. Many Grenadians who left here, Grenada, Pidimautic, and Carrico, they went abroad and they invested. They own apartment buildings and all of that. They could return home and contribute significantly to the Grenadian economy. But if they are going up in age and they have a little blood pressure issue, or maybe they are pre-diabetic or something like that, that might be a concern. They may not want to come, right? Because heading up to the general hospital is not an easy thing. First of all, you got to deal with traffic coming through that fish market and Market Hill, that area there, up that hill. It is hard. I tried it myself. Even walking is terrible. You understand me? So without having adequate medical facilities and people to deliver health care to those who need it, folks just decide I might as well stay in Canada or England or America. We got to change that.
But even as you say, we incentivize our nurses or medical officials to come back to Grenada. The conditions at the General Hospital, like you just mentioned, our health centers, we have Princess Royal hospitals. How can we improve that? How does the GULP intend to improve the services at our main health facilities?
Yes, first and foremost, we could partner with NGOs, right? We would partner with the School of Medicine to help deliver. Even some of the doctors and surgeons that, complete their education, sometimes you have to do internship, right? As soon as you finish, you don't jump on a plane and head back to Canada or India or the United States of America. We could, find ways where they could contribute maybe a year or two, even 6 months, right? Locally. Right, to bring some of the services that we need. So I think we should work. We should collaborate with the School of Medicine, and as I said before, nationals who maybe retire right now, they could come back from Canada, they could come back from England, they could come back from the United States of America and make their contribution. That would help quite a lot. And don't forget, as I said before, when that happens, and those of us who are up in age, we are not 18 and 19 and 20 years anymore, when we see we can get good delivery of healthcare, a floodgate of Grenadian nationals would return home with their money, with their 401k, with their pension, whatever it is they have to sell, their assets, right? And come home and do what? Build the Grenadian economy. So healthcare under the GULP is key. And there is a magic behind it. It would bring in foreign currency. It would bring in investment to this country. You see, we cannot build an economy on foreign investors alone. That is a fallacy. A foreign investor, most of them are not investors, they are convestors, right? They come here to make a quick buck and run, don't pay taxes. You get a 99-year lease, open up a hotel or a guest house, and then you cut, you run, you jump ship, you go to St. Vincent, you do the same thing, then you go to St. Lucia and exploit them the same way you exploited Grenada. You have to be mindful of that. Why not make it easy for us, born Grenadians, to return home to our homeland and contribute? Why you give preference and tax breaks and all sorts of concessions to people whose navel string is not buried here in this country? It baffles me. So this hotel, you cannot drive a car on one wheel. You need balance, right? In finance, we say you diversify. You have a balanced portfolio. Tourism, more hotel. That cannot grow your economy. Because guess what? The people who build the hotels, their allegiance is not to Grenada. it is to wherever they came from. I'm not mentioning Egypt. Next question.
Poverty. You just one of your previous responses, you spoke about the poor members of society. The poverty rate in Grenada has been a concern for many years for many organizations, many citizens. Is it a concern, a priority for the GULP as well?
Yes. And I'm very glad you asked this question. I would harken back to 1948, after World War II, 1949, 1950, and 51. So just to give you context, and all Grenadians listening, pay attention to this. I'll go into a little bit of history right now. Grenada was ruled by one class of people. There were the whites and half-whites and maybe a third white, mulatto, and so forth and so on. And those who were indentured, they did not come through slavery or their parents, right? They were brought in from Asia or India as indentured servants, and they became overseers and managers of the plantation or estates and so forth. I'm talking about the plantocracy, right? During that time, Grenada was ruled not by Grenadians. Grenada was ruled around that time by Mr. Green. He was a governor. In fact, he wasn't even Grenadian, he was Guyanese, right? Going up to Queen's Park, we still have what is called the Green Bridge, right? Okay, that was built by him. So whatever had to be done to help the poor had to be approved in England. In other words, there was no say by any local Grenadian in terms of what happens in our own country. It had to be approved abroad. Okay? All right. Here comes Sir Eric Matthew Gary, 1922 to about 1997. Little black boy, as he was called, from the outer parish in the area of Dunfermline Pearls, that triangle area, Paradise. All right, went to St. Mary's, self-educated, he was a teacher. At a young age, went to Trinidad. 2 years later, went to Aruba. Let's fast forward. So when he came back to Grenada, what he saw, the conditions in Grenada at the time, was just a cut about slavery. Just a cut about slavery. The plantocracy and the children, they did well. Most of them straight nose, South Indian hair, and light skin. But folks with melanin like myself and your parents, I suppose, they were on the plantation from dusk in the pouring rain until you were, so you know, right? All right. Hard work, picking cocoa, cracking cocoa, a basket of cocoa with the juice running down your clothes. All right. Next morning, you put on the same dress and head out to work, you smell cocoa juice. That was hard, back-breaking work. Arthritis or no arthritis, you had to work, you had to feed yourself. I want to encourage our listeners to, I'll take one more minute to talk about that, because in the village where I grew up, Confrance, part of Tivoli, I could tell you most of the people there work for my dad. He bought a piece of Confrance estate, so he had workers working his cocoa land and all of that. Fine. That's hard work. Back-breaking work. They were not paid properly. They lived in thatched houses. And by thatched, I mean most of the houses were made from bamboo and pieces of board they get from everywhere. Some of them didn't have galvanized on the roof. They used cane straw and coconut leaves so that when rain comes, it don't fall on them. And they mix up something I don't want to see on TV. They mix up cow dung in dust or mud and pour water on it, and that forms something like cement when rain coming. That was the condition in Grenada during the time of Sir Eric Matthew Gary upon his arrival. And these people were exploited by the plantocracy. They would not pay them. Even Gary himself, his dad, worked the plantation, and when he went to pick up his little pence, little salary, They would make them wait until evening or night. They have the money to pay, but just to suffer them and embarrass them and humiliate them more. Okay? That was the condition. The underclothing was made from what? Flour bag that they cut up in strips to make underwear. It was Gary who gave them nylon panties. Let me fast forward from that. So, upon his return from Aruba, he tried to meet the same planters, estate owners, people, and they looked down on him. This little flat-nosed black boy from, Lafayette area up there. They would not. They refused. All he was trying to do is to, improve the conditions of the working poor, the laborers or estate workers, if you want to call them that, and so they could have a decent, living and maybe some educational opportunities for their children. And they would not budge. They would not meet Gary. So it took Sky Red, which I think you're familiar with, to bring them to their knees, where plantation after plantation was being burnt to the ground. Gary called the biggest strike in Grenada's history in 1951. And he brought the plantation owners to their knees. They capitulated and they increased sugarcane workers' pay by 50%. Nobody to this day has ever done anything close. And that is empowerment for the poor. The people who did cocoa and bananas and all of that, I think they got a 25% raise. Right? That was good. Then they start calling him Uncle Gary. They could go and buy nylon panty. They could feed their family now. They could put galvanized and take out that sugar cane and coconut straw leaves on the house. You understand? Dress a little nice, and maybe instead of eating fig and smoke herring every day, they could eat some dumpling too.
So that was the GULP under Sir Eric.
Yes.
What about the GULP under Mr. Prudhomme? How would you address the poverty situation?
Right. So we want to empower, right? We are asking everyone, irrespective of your past political stripes, to join us, right? Come on board and work with us. I have my strengths, I have my talents, you have yours. But together we can build, we can complement each other. We don't know it all, right? And whether it's here in Grenada or abroad, just come back or contribute your ideas, and we would weave that in a tapestry to build this country. But as I said, first and foremost, we would work on health. We would work on wealth. We would respect contracts signed or promises made to teachers and give them the 4% because they earn it. They earn it. The nurses who are fleeing Grenada as soon as they graduate and head to England or different places, we would increase their wages so we could have better staff, better quality to provide health care to our people. And we would try to get those abroad who are retired or could make a contribution of a year or 2 or 6 months to come home and help. So we have a lot of ideas in place. Agriculture and agro-processing is something I'm working on myself right now. I recently went to Marquis. There is a young lady on the side of the street that sells the best soursop ice cream. And Blossom, she gave me an experience of hers trying to scale her business, increase production, right? And she went through some loan department for years. And I cannot say on your program that it's wrong, so I'm not saying it. Okay, I'm not saying that. And promises after promises, paperwork after paperwork. They want to know. Well, I cannot tell you some of the questions they ask. It's so stupid and dumb. I'm not going to talk about that. Up to today, when the tourist people go there, they stop, they buy out the whole thing. I'm going to show you her picture. I have it in my phone. Eventually, the very same people who are supposed to be promoting agriculture They keep brambling her. She get the message. Paperwork after paperwork, question after question. Up to today, they will not approve a little loan, a little funding, so that she could get a processing machine to speed up and increase her capacity. Guess what? The machine only costs $3,000 US. I am going to get it for her.
Nice.
The Grenada government would not do that.
Nice.
Because she's not connected to the NNP. I'm talking about political victimization. If you are not for them, then you don't eat. I could make mention to another young lady. She's a Charles from Sauters, recently lost her job because she opened her mouth and speak. She lost her job for that. That is the Grenada under the NNP. We want to change that. So I'm not here to bash the NNP, but that's a dead party. There is no vision. Looking forward or leaning forward, there is no idea. Nothing to excite me. So I'm happy to be in the camp of the GULP. Next question.
Before the question, let's go to a break and then we're going to come back and continue the discussion. We're speaking with Denis Charles, a prospective caretaker for rural parts of the island, St. Andrew, St. Patrick. He hasn't decided as yet, representing the Grenada United Labour Party, GULP. Let's take a break and then we're going to come back and field some of the questions from our viewers and listeners. This is To The Point on GBN and Classic.
Looking for that injection of vibes and energy, of course? Well, I've got just that. Hi, my name is Gary, Mr. Smooth, and I'm inviting you to join me on the Hot Morning Show on Hot 98.5, 98.7 FM. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 10 in the morning. I've got a healthy dose of your favorite and most infectious hits sampled with information, news, laughter, and all the other ingredients that go into making the hottest morning show on the radio. The Morning Heat. And while you're at it, don't forget to hit us up on WhatsApp, 435-7517. We've got topics, we've got discussions, calls, voice notes, and so much more. But I can't tell you everything. You gotta tune in. The Hot Morning Show on Hot FM 98.5, 98.7 with yours truly, Gary, Mr. Smooth. Kaboom!
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
The best way to protect yourself from 2019 novel coronavirus is to avoid being exposed to the virus. Additionally, there are preventative actions that you can take to protect yourself and your family from the spread of respiratory viruses that can make you sick. These include stay home if you're sick, cover your cough, and wash your hands.
Welcome back to The Point, speaking with prospective GULP caretaker Mr. Denis Charles. It is at this point in the program we're going to invite our viewers and listeners who may have comments, questions, queries, concerns. Now is your chance to ask them. The landline number 435-2041. That's also the WhatsApp number. Please, only written messages on WhatsApp, and you can ask your questions on Facebook and YouTube. Let's go to our first caller. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning, Citizen Wedge. Greeting to your guest.
I hear the gentleman. First of all, let me say I welcome him to the political fray because I think it is important we diversify the issues and so on, and I'm happy to hear different people from. But I have two concerns. The first is this. This here country is so used to having people coming in and talking about the history and relating the history to the current day and so on. But I'd like to ask the gentleman, what's your ideology, sir? And don't get scared of the word. It only means your philosophical beliefs. At least you'd give me at least about two. Your philosophical beliefs, which set the base, for your economic, social, and political theories that you hope to sell to the people. In other words, don't tell me about what you think we can do. Tell me from what globally established positions you will do it from. Two, you may or may not know that the constitution of this here country is illegitimate. In other words, it was never been accepted by the people, neither in the parliament nor by popular referendum. What is your party's view on that, and what do you propose to do about the current situation as we chart a course for the future of this here country? Thank you very much and have a nice day, will you?
Thank you very much, Cicero.
Yes, thank you very much, caller. I think I'm very familiar with your voice. I've heard your questions before. In fact, I listen regularly to GBN. And let me start with the last or the second question first, right? With respect to the Constitution, if there are any amendments that need to be made to make it better for the Grenadian people, I am open to that. That's not a problem. In fact, I favor term limits, just as we have in the United States, among other things. 2-year maximum. We had a very good president in President Barack Obama. After 8 years, 2 terms, he's gone. In this country, it is a 5-year term. So after 10, that would be enough. If you cannot transform Grenadian society or the economy in 10 years, I don't think you need 20 or 30. Because the current administration, or Dr. Mitchell himself, I don't want to lambaste him, he has been there a very long time. I don't know what new ideas he would get, maybe from heaven, that he didn't try in so many decades in office. So that's my answer to you. But with respect to my philosophy, first and foremost, I am a humble servant. I believe in the Almighty. I believe in doing good. All right? I'm a pragmatist. I don't lean left. I don't lean right. I go by what is right for the Grenadian people. And that is where I stand. There are aspects of socialism or capitalism. I'm an investor myself, yes. But I believe in opportunities for all. So I go down the middle, as I said, in a very practical way. I am not beholden to any ideology on this side or that side. Grenada, the future of Grenada, is what I stand for. The betterment of our people. That is my ideology. Thank you very much.
In relation to the Constitution question, what this caller was really asking is the Constitution was suspended.
Yes.
Right. And it was not legitimately re-accepted or put back in place. So how does the GUP intend to address that?
Yes. Well, we would look at that. We could form a commission, right, and see where we can pick up the pieces. It would have to be ratified and all of that, voted on and so forth. These are things that we would work on. We are open, as I said, to any ideas, any good suggestion. In particular, this gentleman, I would like to meet him before I return. I'll be here for a while in Grenada. I would like to have a chat with him. I don't know his name personally, but those are ideas we are willing to discuss. As I said, we don't know it all. We are open to anyone with a good suggestion. And I definitely, if you know who he is, I would like him to reach out to me. I would like to meet him sometime.
No problem. There's a question on the Facebook, a comment. Somebody on Facebook says, I support most of your views on the health system, but sorry, you are putting your money or bet on a losing or dying horse. How would you respond to people? And that's not the first comment in terms of the GULP trying to get back its footing into the political arena.
Yes, as I said, I understand. I was told that by a cousin of mine on Sunday in La Poterie. I've been canvassing the areas. I went to Monkridge, next to Monkridge Pasture on Sunday, talking to different constituencies. As I said, I straddle St. Andrews and St. Patrick's, right? So I go back and forth and all of that, talking with people, getting a feel on the ground, right? I understand the demise of the GULP, and without having any effective leadership for a long time, many of the young folks were not even born. They have no idea, no clue as to what it is they did. We became a nation under the GULP. Our economy is based on things that the GULP did. I'm talking about the School of Medicine, which contributes somewhere around 35% of our GDP. In fact, had it not been for the GULP, Prickly Bay wouldn't exist, right? Dusty Highway wouldn't be existing, it would be dusty. In fact, that whole Maurice Bishop Highway would be a swamp. We could go back to Expo 69. Okay, many of the and most of the young folks don't even know. In fact, the international airport right now, Gary took his ministers there. That was identified as the strip, the area where it would be built. And I could refer you to Miss Gloria Payne and others, who was a cabinet secretary. All of that happened under Gary. Most Grenadians don't know. They don't have a clue. I could fast forward to Easter water parades and stuff like that. That brought in thousands of boatmen and, and yachtsmen and all of that right here, right on the coronage and all of that, from Grand Anse to the coronage. It was like carnival. We have Monday night mass, right? So the coronage was lit with light, different colors and so forth, right? As you know, Expo 69 is what really opened up Grand Anse, Prickly Bay, True Blue and all of that, right, to foreign investment, and now everybody know how beautiful Grand Anse is, right? Okay, we have to give Uncle Gary some credit. But he doesn't have his name on a pothole or a cocoa tree. And this is just wrong.
But again, that was under Sir Eric. What about now? How is the GULP able to revitalize itself and be one of the parties that people can look to? Most people say Grenada is a two-party state, NDC, NNP. How does the GULP intend to put itself in the middle there so that Grenada can become a three-party state, at least a three-party state?
Yes, what we intend to do, Blossoms, is to go on a massive recruiting campaign, which we are working on. This is phase 1. Right? We are recruiting like crazy, and education, informing, right? As Nelson Mandela said, the most effective weapon used to fight for positive change is education. Because a lot of people don't know, and they don't know that they don't know. So we have to tell them what the GULP stood for. We have to tell them how the GULP moved the people from poverty and put them in a better place, right? And going forward, we would continue to do the same thing. We would honor, right, contracts made or promises made to teachers. There are many things that we want to put in place, improve healthcare and all of that. In terms of agro-processing, I have a plan where we will try to create more cooperatives with the young men sitting on the roadside early in the morning drinking a bottle of Rivers, right? I wouldn't say work gangs, because they might tag me with Mao in China and all of that, forced labor and all of that, concentration camp thing. So I know politics, they wait for you to get an opening, give them an opening, and you get attacked. But if we could form something like that, where, for instance, we had heavy rains recently, 2 weeks ago, and a lot of slides and blockage and all of that. If people are civic-minded or community-oriented, you don't have to wait on the government to come out, right, to clear the brush or the bamboo or the whatever it is blocking up the road and all of that, cutting the grass and so forth, debushing or whatever name you want to call that. We, in each community, we can do that ourselves. Under Gary, we had self-help. I've been to Dusty Highway. I went to the School of Medicine area. I see them patching up the road with dirt, mud, next to the School of Medicine. What has Grenada come to? Where is the progress? What is the economic gains made during, I don't know, how many years the NNP has been in power? A long time. Show it to me. Where did they move the economy? From where to where? Except right now we have a $300 million food import bill. And then we cannot survive without St. Vincent. I don't see it. So we would focus on agriculture. We would focus on feeding ourselves. We would focus on processing and adding value to some of the things we grow, right? If we have nutmeg, we should make nutmeg oil too. If we have cocoa, well, let us process it and make Ovaltine, our own kind of Milo, right? Instead of exporting the beans to, I don't know, Russia or Germany or whatever it is, and going back and buy the powder from them 5 times the cost that we sell it to them. It doesn't make sense. We have a lot of fruits rotting on the ground. We could make nectar, right? We could make preserves. We could make damsel in the country. They just fall. Nobody's doing anything, right? There is something called home economics. I would spearhead an effort to teach that in school. In fact, I went to a lady who taught that in Tivoli School, RC School. Her name is Miss Hutchinson during the Gary years. She lives in Montrose, next to Montrose Secondary School. I had a conversation with her about a week ago. And if we bring back that in the schools where we teach the young men and women how to do things with their hand, with the products in the back of the house, how you could commercialize that and make a living out of that. Processing, pulping, whatever it is you need to do. And you can sell. You could sell to the marketing board. If you have enough and you scale up, you could export and get foreign currency. There are things we can do using our natural products. Lastly, I would add, we have enough fish all over Grenada. On the side of the road, you drive through Soubise and Marquis, Grenville, all over the place, right? Good. Why is it we import saltfish in this day and age? Why? Why can't we salt in a very, clean environment without the flies and all of that stuff, sanitary, and consume the things we produce? I'm talking about prosumption. We produce what we consume what we produce. I'm not done yet. Well, I have a lot to talk, so you might have to give me another 2 hours, Blossom, if you might want to knock somebody out. And I
Don't worry, next time. Don't worry. As the party continues to grow, of course, our members of the GULP will be welcome back here on the program. And in the meantime, let's go to the phone lines. Good morning, caller.
Greetings, my dear Blossy. How are you?
I'm good. How you do?
It has been a long time, but happy I get you, man. And greetings and welcome to the guest. As he said, he had a lot to talk about. And I admire him for what he is doing, especially in the area of history, knowledge. And I think I've heard him before as he has introduced himself. And I think sooner or later, he should publish his book, which I think I'm looking forward to. He had talked about publishing a book. And everything takes time, but I want him to do it as soon as possible. You have been asking him about how does the GULP intend to revitalize. I think that was one of the words they used. And indeed, he has to address that directly. And he has to understand that we are living in a new era. While I welcome all what he is saying, and as he himself says, it takes education. But I have a question to ask him. Many questions, but I will ask him one and make a further comment. Does he, and when I say he, I'm referring to the GULP and so on, intend to contest the upcoming election, which virtually is about less than 2 years ago, and it can be within 2 months? And does he and his party have a strong feeling that they will win? Could you just briefly answer that before I continue? Although time is going.
No, ask all the questions and then he'll answer them all.
Okay. Because I don't want him to answer based on what I say. But the point remains, the Constitution is key. And forgive me as I will forgive myself. I disdain anyone, especially new entrants into the political arena, which does not qualify him or herself or any party with the Constitution, and comes with a philosophy and approach to look at it. Many of our politicians today are swearing allegiance to the Constitution to honor and uphold, which they have no clue about. Hence the reason why it has been abused. That's one of the reasons. Now, when the first caller asked about the Constitution, he did not answer in any direct way, as many other politicians, many other persons coming, have no clue, but they're going to swear allegiance to it. In terms of election, he intends to go back out of Grenada, and I think his leader may not have been in Grenada right now. And I was surprised to see the TGM leader here. Sorry to get into a different party business. But the election office to run effectively, and I'm patiently waiting for that. This guy just coming in, spending less than 1 year in Grenada to contest the election. And this is illegal. They can't intend to just jump a plane in and out and stay in Grenada 2 months or less than 6 months and intend to contest. It is against the electoral system.
Okay.
And he has to understand that. And finally, let me advise him and many others to listen at GBN, your station, every Wednesday from 6 o'clock in the evening with the same God we said who is his cousin. I am there along with my group, the Constitution Caucus, to listen at issues of the Constitution, to contribute to it financially and technically to support that organization and to understand what the election is all about and how to go about it. For me, the Constitution, with particular reference to pension for public officers and the integrity of the electoral office, must be addressed. Or else we are just trying to let Kit Mitchell and NNP continue in the reign, and there will not be any end.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. Once again, caller, thank you very much. You spoke with passion. I could detect the conviction in your voice, and I'm pretty much humbled by the way you spoke. It seems as though there are many things dear to your heart, and I'll try my best to answer them. There were quite a few. With respect to the Constitution, as I said, I am willing to spend some time to look at the whole aspect of the Constitution with legal aid. Right? It's a legal document. And we have attorneys here, attorneys at law. I think Dr. Francis Alexis is a constitutional law professor, I believe. There are many we can get to look at how we can strengthen and improve upon what we have, right? Also, you mentioned something about the TGM. I believe you are talking about Patrick Antoine. Mm-hmm. All right. I don't have anything bad to say about Mr. Antoine. I don't know him personally. I read a lot. I follow the news a lot, right? Whatever connection he might have had with the Kit Mitchell government, the NNP, and whatever programs he had in place, I believe he has a change of heart and he wants to do right by the Grenadian people. He has a steep hill to climb because some of the programs now in place were of his making or his suggestion. So he has to undo some of the damages that have been done. But I'm not going to bash. I'm not here for that purpose. In terms of me, myself, and my association with the GULP, I'm going to try to answer as many as you. I know you ask a bunch of questions. I could tell you that I have returned to Grenada. I have investments abroad. My kids are abroad. Yes, and I'll be going back and do some additional business that I want to set up here in Grenada. Okay, investments and so forth. Fine, I don't have an issue with that. But if you can have foreigners coming to Grenada and the government will sign off on loans for them to do all sorts of investment, don't pay taxes, all sorts of concessions, a returning national should not be questioned that hard. If you want to contribute to the political arena, if we could build a better Grenada, I think we should be welcomed with open arms. That is my response to you.
in kind of like almost the question the caller posed and what you just answered. Somebody on WhatsApp is asking, do you have or ever had an American citizenship? If yes, are you willing to give up that citizenship in order to run for political office in Grenada as per our laws?
Yes, I am willing to do so. Blossoms, I could tell you, I have purchased a property months ago right here in Grenada. Okay? I was here 3 months ago. In fact, I was supposed to be here with Godfrey. I wanted to come on the station and chat with you guys and so forth. So I could divulge now what my plans are. So yes, right? And as he said, he has seen me many places, many times before. That is correct. I'm out there.
As we wrap, Mr. Charles, your final thoughts this morning that you can share with our viewers and listeners.
Yes, fellow Grenadians at home and abroad. I put up on Facebook under the Grenada Breadfruit and Culture Club, under Black Caribbean Vibes, and many other places, Understanding Money, the Grenada United National Movement. I posted it on Ride Along and also on Mikey Live, I think it's called. Some information that I think would be very, very helpful in understanding why I decided to join with the GULP. It doesn't mean that I would not listen or speak with or converse with anybody else. That is not the case. I think together, we all need each other. Together, we must work to put an end to the NNP destruction of Grenada. I would tell you that I recently heard gas price is going up because of excessive taxation by the NNP government. Food price is going up. When you hit the store, you get shocked. Okay? Your water rate under Nawasa is not going down either. Taxes on everything is hitting the roof. But public pension is going nowhere and your salary is going down. In fact, the government is using Imani workers because they don't get a contract and they're getting rid of public work that people would do and probably get a little bit of the social safety net. I'm talking about gratuity or pension. So they replace them with temporary, if you want to call them, Imani workers and so forth. This is just plain wrong. So hence the reason we have an exodus of brain, the brain drain. People want to flee, to go abroad to greener pastures instead of remaining here and help build Grenada. You cannot build an economy when you're young, when the young and maybe your brightest are fleeing overseas to greener pastures. What we need is to have reverse migration, where we bring back the brains abroad, Grenadians abroad, come back home. As Dr. Pancho, my good friend, he returned, right? His wife is here too, right? I have returned. And we can get many nationals to come back and make their contribution in the community in which they grew up. I think that is how you build, because Grenada has at least twice as many nationals abroad as we have here. If our population is 100,000, we have 200,000 abroad. And they own building, they have careers, they are all sorts of, educated people. Okay? And they could come back and help, especially in the healthcare industry, in agriculture and all of that. We can make it if we try. We got to come together. We have to unite. And this is what I'm trying to do. I implore you to give us a listen. Follow our platform. In a few weeks, my good friend Jeffrey Prudhomme would be here in Grenada, and we would be working village by village on the ground, networking and all of that, and putting out our ideas, meet and greet, and reach the population, right? Finally, I would say to you that we don't know it all, so we want to connect with you. We want to hear your response. We want to hear your concerns, right? We are not here to impose our ideas upon anyone. That is not how it is done. We want to listen to you, meet you. Just tell us your concerns. and we will take them into consideration. I think I have said enough. I want to thank Blossoms so much from the bottom of my heart for inviting me here today to speak with you, the Grenadian people, and I shall be back. Thank you very much. Stay safe. We have COVID-19 again, the Delta variant. Protect yourself, follow protocols, and I'll see you next time. Denis Charles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charles. Appreciate your appearance here this morning, and we look forward to hearing more as the GULP gets its footing back into the political arena. Thank you very much. And thank you, viewers and listeners, for tuning in to The Point this morning. Always appreciate your listenership and your viewership. It's time for me to head on out the door. Joseph is up next with Mid-Morning Buzz. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.